Alright, hi everyone. So I'm making this video today to talk about Jupiter beginning to go retrograde backwards in Scorpio today. So, Jupiter's this big body, and we can always think of the cosmos as out there and in here. Whenever a planet begins to slow down, stop, and go backwards, that function's also occurring within each of us. So within the collective right now, whenever a planet goes retrograde, there is a collective shift happening within each and one of us. So these retrograde turning points, called stationing retrograde, is always a marker on the evolutionary journey. The general intention of retrograde is first a slowing down, a redirecting of energy inwards, and we're individuating from the normal trained way of doing things. So we connect more with our intuition, which means the ways in which we are familiar with life functioning won't necessarily show up for us in the ways that we're expecting. So oftentimes any kind of retrograde experience is, in the general consensus way of looking at things, difficult, challenging, and especially with Jupiter, the idea of getting lost, getting confused, losing your sense of direction, false visions, things like that. But there's a great potential, great meaning in the retrograde archetype that I want to speak to here. Jupiter in general is where we go on a journey. We have vision. We have a sense of there's more to life that I intuitively sense is possible. So we get on the plane, we get into the relationship, we go on this journey, we expand our horizons, we take a leap of faith, we share ourselves, we move energy out in some direction, mutable fire, all kinds of ways of exploring. And we set ourselves in motion to experience more of the truth. And we experience it directly. When we experience the truth, our entire framework of self, of reality, shifts. We don't go back. What we knew before is no longer as relevant as what we know now. We've expanded our existing understanding, and we keep on going, we keep on going. There's a promise within Jupiter that when our movement is of sincerity, honesty, we will always find out. When we're seeking, when we're looking for an answer under the premise of, I don't know, I'm lost, we won't find out, because Jupiter teaches that the journey is the way we move. And so when we move through life with this sense of, there's more, and I'm so excited to find out, I'm devoted to find out, I want to find out. What I know is nothing in comparison to what is. And thus there's a quality of contentment and joy in the present moment. There's an optimism. And that's fundamentally different than moving from a place of lack, from a place of now isn't good enough. Because the shadow of Jupiter is always seeking, always looking for something else. The deepest teaching is we find when we arrive. And then Jupiter does take us on a journey. We do actually have this journey. It might happen in your living room, or it might happen across the world. There's really no difference. There's no value judgment really either. However the journey manifests for our own soul journey is exactly the way it's meant to be. But the quality of expansion, discovery, being willing to not know, being willing to find out, that's the essence of Jupiter. And when we share our knowledge, in a way of humility, not attesting ourselves to have found the answer, we further process and integrate what we have come to know. Now, Jupiter in Scorpio is powerful because Scorpio is about evolution. It's about transformation from the inside out. We transmute our consciousness from one state to a completely other state. We die, we shed what we are to become what we can be. We face our limitations, our obsessions, our addictions, where we cannot imagine ourselves living or existing beyond the framework of what we know. In Scorpio, we evolve, we become something else through going fully into our shadow, awakening with it, moving through it completely, receiving this rich compost. Jupiter, it's a journey to our death. Jupiter in Scorpio is, I need to evolve. I will follow the path. I will do what I need to do because there's a calling within me that there is more. Jupiter, potential for evolution, Scorpio. There is a death that I am seeking to experience. And I know it is within my soul's destiny to awaken, to shed what is not necessary for me. So Jupiter and Scorpio can go deep, deep, deep. And what's the key ingredient? Self-honesty. Honesty about ourselves, honesty about our desires, honesty about our own evolutionary path. Taking full responsibility to look at ourselves honestly and to do what is necessary to evolve, to grow. Otherwise, we stagnate. We get stuck in the patterns of obsession and addiction and compulsion. If we look at those places, we'll find there's actually a path there. The very places where we hold on the most, where we potentially get lost, is also the potential pivot point to a very profound journey inward. And Jupiter wants to take us on that journey. It wants to show us what we're truly capable of, what our birthright is, what our potential for really living awake is. That we are not meant to stay small. We are not meant to stay bound by our psychological fears and fixations and compulsions. We are so much greater than that. Our potential is quite infinite. So when Jupiter stations retrograde, it's a slowing down and a turning, this feeling of there's a shift now. Where am I going? Why am I going there? What's this really about? It invites, on one hand, stillness and reflection. What is my own potential right now? How am I moving through this journey? And it brings out the possibility of the shadow element of Jupiter really being in our face. If we're traveling somewhere, seeking something, going somewhere, under the premise of something we're trying to convince ourselves of, right? Convincing ourselves, oh, I'm going to find something there. And it's like a gamble at a casino. We don't actually know. We're just risking it. That's different than being intuitive. That's different than really following that soul impulse of there's something more and I'm sensing my way through life. We can convince ourselves. We can say, oh, I saw the signs, this synchronicity and that synchronicity. I must be going there. And we get there and then we just find we fall on our face. It's like eating so much food and not digesting it. That's different than having this inward sense, this feeling of life, the field of oneness is speaking to itself. I'm feeling it, I'm sensing it, I'm aware. I'm asking questions that are really true for me. I'm connecting with what's authentic. What's an authentic question? How do we connect with an authentic question? I can't describe it because we know what it's like, right? We know what it feels like to come to that place of, how do I heal that? How do I get that? What's the answer to this? How can I move through this? What's the answer beyond this phase of fear, of obsession? What's the truth, right? When we come to that place of real looking, Jupiter, we're really looking at the truth. What is it? There's a foundation of, I don't know. I don't know. It's that moment where we realize there is an answer, there is a way, because Jupiter teaches us there's always a way. There's always more. There's the universe. This is not it. This is not all. But it starts in the present moment where we realize that. We get true and authentic with our present moment reality. And so this Jupiter retrograde can bring a lot of synchronicity, a lot of amazing expansions and discoveries. But it really invites a stripping away, Scorpio, of unnecessary beliefs and patterns of compulsive movement. Compulsive orientating towards the life journey from a place of convictions that are constructed in the mind, from a place of self-convincing ourselves of what we really think to be true, what we want to be true, but isn't actually true. When we move forward from an empowered place of genuine looking, a genuine pursuit of the truth, we can be content in the moment. We can feel in the present moment, I am where I need to be. And I'm grateful for all that will come up. I'm grateful for all that I can lose. In Scorpio, we might lose a lot, but there's one thing we will never lose in Scorpio, and that's our power. And if our journey takes our power away, right? If we're degrading ourselves, not taking care of our health, our well-being, our value, our self-respect, to go on a journey to find something, to visit someone we want to see, if we're degrading the potency and the value of the present moment, of our worth, of our dignity, for the sake of the journey, then we're distorting something that does not actually want to be distorted. We're degrading an inherent worthiness that can't go and it can't come. And yet we can live our life getting entangled in ways where what is ours gets wrapped up in something that is outside of ourselves, thinking that we need it, thinking that we need to run away from ourselves for this. And it feels so wrong because it's not natural. And it's like when we lose something that we can't actually lose, that's the worst feeling ever, right? And yet since we can't actually lose it, the moment we realize, oh, I'm giving my power away, boom, it's back. That's the amazing thing about the soul's power. It can't actually be lost. Thus, the moment we realize it can't be lost and we're making it be lost, it's back. And because it can't actually get lost, when we live in the illusion of psychologically fixing ourselves on something else, it feels horrible because we're denying ourselves what's actually always ours. We're missing the truth of the present moment. So that's the shadow of this Jupiter retrograde in Scorpio, and it can feel like everything's falling apart. What we expected, what we thought would be, is not. But again, the power, the gift, the great potential of Jupiter going retrograde in Scorpio is to expand our potential to live authentically and honestly in the moment. To walk the journey with total conviction and gratitude, optimism, kind of a dark optimism. I'm going into my death, I'm going into evolution. This might be scary, and I'm grateful for it. There's Jupiter in Scorpio isn't the typical kind of optimism, it's more of a dark humor. Actually, my friends who have Jupiter in Scorpio have some of the darkest, most twisted senses of humor that I've ever seen. Because, you know, Jupiter is basically humor. Jupiter's the cosmic punchline. It's like, oh, I get it. We realize the truth. Here it's in Scorpio, so it's like, oh, I get it. Yeah, that's pretty deep, dark, scary shit. Ha ha ha. That was a good lesson. Glad I got that one. There has to be a lightness when we take it into the darkness. Otherwise, we're not going to grow. We're not going to expand. We're not going to receive the gifts of the shadow. All right, so may we be blessed. We are blessed and strengthened and confident that the way we move is the journey. The authenticity and honesty with which we carry ourselves defines the very nature of our own destination. So much love to you all. Blessed travels.